Welcome to another episode of the Manufacturing Executive Podcast. I'm Joe Sullivan, your host and a co-founder of the industrial marketing agency Gorilla 76. So, as a B2B manufacturer, there are a lot of ways to do marketing. Traditionally, many of you have poured money into trade shows, printed materials, maybe print ads or pay-per-click. Those of you who have modernized your approach have found your way into content marketing, inbound, SEO, and so on. And don't get me wrong here, I'm a huge advocate for inbound and content marketing, huge advocate. We do it for ourselves, we do it for our clients, and with plenty of success. But as I often explain, generally speaking, inbounds is a long game. You're consistently creating and publishing expert content. You're building authority for your website, and slowly more of the right people from the right companies start to find you and engage with you and start conversations with you. And this is absolutely something you should be doing because it's sustainable. It's a sustainable way to grow your business. But there's no magic button you can push to win the inbound game. If you're doing it right, it requires some serious blood, sweat, and tears in most cases. And it takes time, it takes patience to build that machine. And so because of that, I'm also a huge advocate of supplementing inbound with a more proactive marketing approach to, where you're identifying the right people from the right companies, those buying process influencers inside those organizations, and then you go get them. And this is exactly what we are going to talk about today. Account-based marketing, or ABM as it's often called. So if you were to ask me, Joe, who is the one single person I should go learn about when you're thinking about ABM, I would point you to Sangram Vajre. And it just so happens that that is exactly who we are interviewing today. So Sangram, to give a little introduction, ran marketing at Pardot, acquired by ExactTarget, and then ExactTarget was acquired by Salesforce for $2.7 billion. Soon after that, Sangram co-founded Terminus, which hit 1 million in the first year, 5 million in the second, and 15 million in the third year, ranking 21st in Deloitte's fastest growing companies list, named back-to-back as one of the best places to work also. On LinkedIn alone, Sangram has over 15,000 subscribers to his weekly Becoming Intentional newsletter and over 10 million views of his content in just the last 2 years. Sangram has quickly become a marketing and leadership expert and has been named one of the top 21 B2B influencers in the world by DMN Network. Sangram's the author of 2 books on marketing, a frequent keynote speaker, a host of the top 50 business podcast called Flip My Funnel, with over 500,000 downloads. And if I saw correctly, I think 600 some episodes at this point, which blows my mind. So Sangram, I am literally giddy that you are here on our show today. Welcome.
Well, after that intro, I'm like, oh my God, like most people are like, can we get over with and like just get to the topic? I don't know. But Joe, dude, I'm so grateful that you thought of me and I'm on this podcast. And I love the fact that it's your podcast, your episodes are niche on an industry. So I wish more people would do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, thanks for being here. I mean, I'm super excited for this conversation. ABM is something we're talking about constantly with our clients at this point. And 5 years ago, it's like this acronym that, most people didn't even know. You did, but it was sort of an evolving and emerging thing. And especially in the manufacturing sector where marketing tends to be kind of lagging, far lagging behind SaaS and also behind most professional services. So it's kind of finding its way into the manufacturing world the last few years. And we're big advocates of ABM. So, that said, I'm excited to have you here.
Man, what's also exciting in general for me, when I think about this 5-year, like 2014, 2015, when we started Terminus, and just the idea of ABM, the idea of Flip My Funnel, in that sense, is that my own understanding of that has evolved. Like, I wish I could say, man, I knew, Joe, I knew exactly what this is, and this is not true at all. In 2015, what I understood, and when I wrote the first book on account-based marketing, that there was a concept that I felt like there got to be a better way. And then in 2019, when I wrote the second book, I feel like you could see that I literally moved on from, it's not just a better mousetrap. It is actually a better marketing strategy. It's a better go-to-market strategy. So it's no longer ABM for the sake of ABM. It's B2B. So it's been fascinating to just go through that personally from a journey perspective.
Yeah, I imagine you've probably, I mean, I know you've seen it all. You were kind of at the forefront of this movement. And so, given who we're talking to here, we're not talking mostly to, to people in software who are, tend to be super innovative in the marketing front. A lot of my audience here on this show are mid-sized manufacturers. Like I said in the intro, they've leaned on trade shows and print ads in the past, and are starting to do more content marketing the last few years and inbound. But can you just kind of give an overview, like what are we talking about here exactly when you're talking about account-based marketing?
At the core of it, I mean, there are probably 179 buzzwordy definitions of it. So I'll save you from that. In the layman terms, it is really focused marketing and sales together. That's it. It's a one team approach to go after the right accounts that matter to you for your business, and you do any and everything to win those accounts. And I say that, and people are like, well, wait a minute, isn't that what marketing and sales is supposed to? Yeah, you're right. They should be, but that's not what's happening in most organizations. Most organizations, marketing is giving salespeople leads, and the sales team is like, well, that's not the right lead. But if you really boil it down, why is that happening? It's not because sales don't want leads. It's not that marketing is just giving them bad leads. It's like there's no sales empathy in the process. And what I mean by that is the title of a salesperson in most organizations is account executive. So they already understand accounts. Like you ask any salesperson, what are your top 5 accounts that you're working on? They would tell you. They don't have to look at Salesforce. They don't have to look at anything. But if you ask your marketing team, what are the top 5 accounts your salespeople are working on? They have no idea. And there what lies the issue of inbound only or anything like that, as you shared. It's like, yes, we got to create top of the funnel content, but gosh, if we don't help our salespeople win, we're going to lose our jobs. And that's what account-based marketing allows you to do, is to be on the same page with your sales team. It's literally, so again, it's just literally the definition can boil down to, it's a focused marketing and sales approach.
Yeah, that's a great overview. And I think, like you said, in layman's terms, right? Because I think a lot of people hear about ABM, they it's described to them, and some people will just say, well, isn't that just sales? And well, no, not exactly. It's, we're talking about creating focus here, but marketing and sales sort of working together, right?
Yeah, it does. I mean, you can go and like if you want to go advanced, like just for 2 minutes, mm-hmm. Yes, you can actually have intent data. So imagine this perfect world, and that's happening for a lot of advanced companies. So everybody wants to like just up level their thoughts, forget everything that you're doing, but just up level. Think that you're here watching a movie and it's a 3D movie. So put on your glasses and here we go. So imagine what's happening with like some of the top companies that are doing this is something like this. They have a list of target accounts, and that's probably like 1,000 or 1,500. They look at intent data that allows them to see which of these 1,500 accounts are actually looking for stuff that you are selling without using your company's name. And then they're able to say, oh, out of this 1,500, these 100 accounts are actually starting to look for stuff. So they're in the very early stages of their identifying a need in their company. Why not activate our sales team and marketing team to go after those accounts? Now imagine that, like put that on a rocket fuel and see if you can do that for every business. And that's what's really happening. And that's what 5 years from now will happen, where every organization will try to get ahead as a competitive advantage in the hearts and minds of the people they're trying to sell, not when they are ready to buy, because at that time they already have made their decision, and now you become one of the things that they have to check the box for the financial team that they have looked at 3 different vendors. You don't want that. That's too late. You want to get in early and higher in the organization. And I think that's where a lot of this intent data and more of that higher level information is super valuable. But I'll tell you, Joe, since 99% of the organizations are not doing it, I think almost every person listening to this has a competitive advantage, because in your industry, this intent data may be such a foreign concept. You don't even have to go there. You may literally, if you would probably be crushing your quotas for the year by literally making sure that sales and marketing agree on a set of accounts, and marketing has programs, not for everything else out there, but for those accounts that you need to close this month, this quarter, this year.
Yep, I totally agree. It's beyond what a lot of companies in this manufacturing space are even thinking about. Can you talk a little bit more about intent data and sort of, make that a little more concrete for some of the listeners? Like, what exactly are we talking about with intent data? Where does that come from?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different data providers out there. Bombora is one of the foremost provider that we partner up with at Terminus, and a lot of our 1,000+ customers use. It literally gives you information about. So let's say you're a manufacturing company. You are actually selling some of the manufacturing tools and supplies to, let's say, Home Depot. Let's just take that as an example. Okay. And now that's what you want to do. That's one of your account is Home Depot, that you can serve them better. It's great. But you don't know when Home Depot is going to be looking for it. You can have your sales rep go after and call them up. But if they have 1,000 people on the list, you don't know which one to call at 8 a.m. in the morning. You just don't. The priority for sales team, it just doesn't exist. So imagine if you could literally identify Home Depot, somebody over there is starting to search some of the keywords. And that's like the deep one level deeper. There is that, let's say they start looking for manufacturing, supply chain oriented things that aligns with your industry. You can buy those keywords from somebody like Bombora and say, if anybody searches on these keywords that are related to my industry and my product services, even though it does not say the name of my company, I want to know that. So what they would do is, like, every time somebody from those companies that you are interested in are looking for those keywords anywhere online, not on your website, but anywhere in the wild, it will alert your organization and your sales team. Now that does clear, you can see where it goes from there, right? Like now all of a sudden your sales team and your marketing team, if you're really looking to take you to the next level, is, gosh, we got the list. You won't just have your sales team call. You will say, marketing, let's actually run some campaign. Let's just do direct mail with this account because this is one of our top accounts and they are obviously interested in this topic. Let us be the first one to break into this account and show them that we care and show them that we're interested. You can create landing pages specifically designed for your company name / Home Depot and drive people over from there to your landing page. So the level of sophistication can just keep going up depending upon the size of the deal that you're trying to sell. But that information, dude, right now is readily available compared to like 5 years ago when I started talking about ABM. Intent data wasn't nowhere to be found. Like nobody really understood what intent data was even. But right now, with all the cookie tracking, IP tracking, keyword tracking, this information is available. The question is, are you going to take the next level of interest? Does that matter to you? Or we can go through the MQL, the SQL, the SAL, and all these different layers. Will you qualify people because, or accounts, because you don't know if those accounts are right. But in account-based, there's no qualification. There is no handoff. It's like Home Depot is on the website. Boom, we need to start calling them because there's no qualification in the process. So you really save so much time and energy if you really do it right.
I mean, what a great way to be able to channel the time and energy of your team. As so many people are out there on the sales front, just like kind of flying blind, right? Their account list is an account list that's just based on, characteristics, firmographic characteristics, this size company in this part of the country with, this many people or this much revenue, but they don't know who's buying and, they don't know what activity people are from those organizations are doing online to gather information during their sales or the buying process. Right. So it makes a ton of sense to have, to be able to help enable your sales team by channeling their energy into the right places where they're going to have much higher success rates. Right.
Yeah. And I think what's really fascinating, Joe, I have seen marketers get promoted. I've seen marketers become CMOs in their organization. I've seen people getting a lot more bonuses. Like I really have seen, I remember Daniel Day, who was one of our customers when he was at Snowflake, and I moved to another company. I think he's still a customer of ours, but at Snowflake, I remember when he came and he said to me, we do this all hands thing where we have a customer come into the office every single month. Like come in, and now we do it virtually, obviously, but we have been doing that for over a year. It's probably the best marketing program I've ever run. Is not anything else but have a customer come in the office and share what's going on, what matters to them, about them. So everybody in the organization knows who we're doing this for. So I remember Daniel Day coming in and saying, you guys have changed my life. And we're like, come on now. We're not in the business of like saving lives. We're not like, he's like, no, you don't understand what you guys have done. And this is like early, like in 2018, 2019, early 2019 maybe. And he was like, well, look, I know I can walk into my CFO's room. I can walk into my CEO's room. I can walk into my CMO's room and tell them exactly how what I do drives business. I can tell them of all the pipeline that they look at every single quarter to say, are we going to meet our numbers or not? That's every company's challenge. Every quarter you're looking at it, as a founder, you're looking at like, are we going to meet the number or not? Like you're looking at it like a hawk. He's like, I can tell very clearly within a ballpark of a few percentage points, which of these accounts we are going to close and which we have absolutely no chance. It's just bullish salesperson saying that they're going to win. And the reason he can do that is because he can go and say to them like, hey, look, we think we're going to close all of these 50 accounts. Right. Let me tell you, out of these 50 accounts, only 10 accounts have spent any time on our website. So the chances of the rest 40 closing is slim to none. That may be like, I don't know what they're doing, but these 10 accounts, there are more than 3 people from that company's spending time on our website. So I feel very good putting a pipeline number to say that these 10 should be part of our forecast, not the 40. 40 is gravy if that happens. And he said 9 out of 10 times I'm literally this close to helping our sales team forecast the right number. Now, Joe, think about the power as a marketer you have to actually help your organization forecast where the revenue numbers are going to be.
So powerful. Well, Sangram, your most recent book, ABM is B2B, came out, late last year, was it?
Last year, yeah, October.
Okay, yeah. I owned it within a few days of it going live and had read it a few days later, I think in 2 sittings or so. It was a fantastic book, and I'd encourage everybody here to pick it up. But there's so many quotable lines from your book, but one that I had highlighted that I think really summed it up for me was this. That you wrote, not all accounts are equal in value, so why are you creating equal experiences for them? It's okay to play favorites. In fact, it's necessary. Assigning tiers is the fairest way to make sure that you design experiences that reflect what each account is worth. Your top tier gets wined and dined. Your bottom tier gets Sprite and takeout. I thought that was so great because it's, it just touches on this. You said it, like not every account is equal, yet we're treating them all the same. We're not looking at things you've talked about like intent, et cetera. So can you unpack this idea a little bit more about account tiers?
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. And thank you. It's one of my favorite quotes too, because, and just so you know, and I'm very open about like writing books and stuff. Hey, look, I'm running a company. And so I'm not writing every single word in it, but majority of my content came from the podcast that we have been doing. So it's been really cool. And I literally hired a comedian to help me write a book. And I'm very open to that because I sat down and said, here's all of my content, but I don't want B2B to be boring to boring. I want it to be better to better. So help me make this better. So I would put it in front of him like, all right, I want to write about this concept of like you have to treat accounts differently. I'm like, that sounds so boring. Like, can you help me? And he came up with that idea of like, hey, you know what if, so he made it sound so much better. So I'm very open and share people like, look, I have no problem getting and taking help. And so should everybody take help when you need it. And that example is really the crux of the entire account-based marketing idea. If your newsletter that you write goes to everyone, if your webinar goes to everyone, if your podcast goes to everyone, then everybody's the same. And if everybody's the same, then you're watering down the level of experience that you should be creating for your top tier account. So the way when we used to fly Delta miles, like, you want a different tier so you can get in early and get a seat and all those kind of things. Like the tiering is in B2C understands this really well. For whatever reason in B2B, we don't consider experiences based on the size of the deal, the type of the deal, the length of the deal, and that makes everybody look the same. And here's the biggest challenge. your $1 million deal that you're going to close and a $50,000 deal. And I would encourage everybody as a challenge to go back and look at your biggest deal and your smallest deal and look at the experiences you're providing them today. Maybe do a chart and just write it down and see. And if you are 99% of the things, if not 100, are the same, you got lucky is the only thing I would say. Or you're overspending on your small accounts. You don't have to. Or you're actually not spending enough to close those deals, more of the bigger deals. And so an example of that would be like we have done recently. We do webinars like everybody else, but now we have started to do webinars based on industry. So we would only get 10 or 20 people. That's all we need. We'll put them together in the same industry and have conversation about how to solve problems in that industry, period. As opposed to trying to say, hey, here's the top of the funnel content for account-based marketing. We're saying, no. Here is, let's bring together CMOs of manufacturing industry together and talk about that. It is such a different conversation. It is such more richer, deeper conversation we're happening. So you just start looking at, we would do a webinar just to get ideas out, but then we'll do webinars that are accelerators for her. And in that case, we're doing like 5 or 10 people. I think people and companies are making huge mistake by treating all accounts the same. They're losing so much money because your competitor right now is whining and dining somebody, is actually giving them really good takeouts or whatever they're trying to do for them. And if you're treating everybody the same, you're completely missing the opportunity that you have at hand. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, well, you can see how it all fits together. You use things like intent data paired with, the information you might already have about an account to make smart decisions about where you're going to have more success. And then to the broader audience, there are things you'll do. Your content will play a role there in your newsletter and stuff. But then, as you look inside that smaller group that is the right fit and they're showing signs that, they're in the buying process, then those are the ones where you can deploy more of your time and energy to, right?
And it changes the game. It changes the game. Like I'll give you another example of them real quick. And I share about this one. It's in the book. You might remember Pramada. Pramada, they are probably fits more into the sweet spot of the customers that you probably have and the people who are listening to it. They only needed 100 deals to close in next 2 to 5 years. Like they don't need 1,000 because every deal is at least $1 million and it can go up to like 10 million or something like that. So really, really big deals. So they didn't care about number of leads. They didn't care about traffic and stuff. But when they started account-based programs, their traffic dropped by 70%. Now, anybody who's thinking like marketing is like, well, if the traffic drops, you're not a good marketer. Like what's wrong with you? But their pipeline and revenue was going up. So they looked into like what happened. And what they identified was because they were so targeted on their list of accounts they were going after, they were only advertising and engaging with these 100 accounts that they had identified as their total addressable market. And as soon as they did that, everything was to them and they didn't do anything else. That's all they focused on. They actually went from 22 different technologies to 6 to do everything they needed. So their cost of acquisition overall dropped by about 62% just by that. So when they started to do that, the traffic automatically dropped, but it was coming from the right places. So that's the questions that we all have to ask. The vanity metrics, that is one of the other things that I kind of jumped in the book for, as you might remember, is that I think we're measuring too many false positives and vanity metrics. I used to measure website traffic going up is great. Now I ask the question, so what? I used to look at number of downloads are great. Now I ask the question, so what? Are they the right people? Are they from the right tiers? Are they the people that we want more of? If not, we actually figured out how to waste our money.
That's such a great point. I love that so much. And it's a concept I've talked about with clients too. You articulated that much better than I ever would have, but it's, and like you see the same sort of thing happening when you're repositioning your business. Like Gorilla, we moved from being more of a generalist firm into serving the industrial sector 7 or 8 years ago. And we've honed that more and more. And I always talk about how, every time we honed more and more, our traffic dipped more and more. And then it would pop back up, a bit, but the quality of leads that were being generated on our site, the people who were appearing on our site, were becoming higher and higher because our message was so focused. And it's sort of a similar thing going on here when you're running ABM, right? It doesn't matter. Like the volume is misleading. And if you're looking at those metrics alone, you'll probably fire your marketer because those vanity metrics, as you call them, are going in the wrong direction. But it doesn't matter. Look at revenue, look at new customers. Are they the right customers? Is your pipeline growing, right? So I think that's a really great point.
Yeah, man. I hope more companies take note on that.
Yeah, that's great. So, something I've observed online, you can maybe validate this or speak to it from another perspective, but a lot of the content you find, if you're looking for ABM or account-based marketing information or examples of it, like almost everything I find is with either huge enterprise organizations or software companies. And I've found it a little difficult to find, like we developed our methodology with our clients for doing ABM with, mid-sized B2B manufacturers. I'm talking about companies that do 10 million to 100 million a year in sales. And some of those customers are enterprise, others are smaller. But like, how do you think like ABM methodology can be applied to more, small to mid-sized businesses? Do you think anything changes, or is it kind of the same thing?
Well, it's a really good question, Joe, because I think ABM is not for everybody. Mm-hmm. Then it goes back to like recognizing who your customers are is so important. So I think people who think that we can sell to everybody, that's just not true. I used to think that. When we started Terminus, we said, well, we can sell to everybody. Our market cap or market size is, 5 billion. Like it was just nothing but ego and bravado. It wasn't anything real in a sense. The reality is that 5 years later, we are 1,000 customers right now. Right. So if our market says that big, why didn't we close fast enough? So I think we have to get real with ourselves. We have to look back in the mirror and say, what is truly our customer size? And what I've seen that on an average, if your deal size is about 50K, and if you have more than 3 people or 4 people part of the decision-making process, and if your sales cycle is longer than 6 months, I think ABM is a perfect fit for you. Anything lower than that, I think you start compromising in areas like, well, how much time and energy, because you would not have the time to do if you're doing transactional business. Another example would be like, if you're a big company selling to really, really, really small deals, like, $100, $200 subscription or $1,000 subscription, ABM is not a good fit for you, because that will take too much of your time. It's a transactional business. You're better off getting a brand-oriented conversations in the marketplace and bringing people together on it. As opposed to that, you could actually be a 10-people agency. But if your deal sizes are over 50K or 100K, ABM is perfect for you. Why wouldn't you do that? Because now you have to be very personalized, prescriptive around how you're going to reach out to it. So it really depends on who your customers are in some ways. And the size of the deal, the number of people involved in the decision-making process, and also the length of those deals.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And so it's less about you and your company and more about the types of deals and the size of deals you're making with your customers. Right. It makes perfect sense. Like there's a lot of the companies that we consult are what you described. They're an equipment manufacturer, and they sell a piece of equipment that's $600,000 or $2 million, and there's a 6 to 12 month buy cycle, and they're talking to engineers and plant managers and procurement and the C-suite, and there are all these different people on the buyer's end who are going to influence the sales somewhere along the way, and those are the situations typically where we say there needs to be an account-based component here, because it's worth investing in that sale, the time and energy of your people, right?
Yeah, it really is super critical, because that's where you actually might be seeing, if you're an organization listening to this right now and thinking that, well, I have a different goal for my sales and marketing team. I have we have a lead problem. We don't have a win rate. We may be having win rate issues. The real issue that you really have, in my opinion, just looking at, is not a demand problem. It's actually a pipeline velocity problem. And that happens because those deals that you already identify the accounts, but they're not moving fast enough. So you need to kind of figure out what's wrong with that. And we keep going back to the marketing team saying, hey, pump in more leads, pump in more inbound, pump in. It's like, I would literally guarantee, like, because we're literally in the middle of the year right now, organizations can stop having any more lead generation whatsoever right now and focus on pipeline and expansion programs. They will hit their number. As a matter of fact, they will crush their numbers for the rest of the year. If they made their overall budget for net new demand 0, like don't get any more net new, whatever is in your pipeline, and try to close them, or whatever is in your expansion deals, try to close them, and whatever comes through inbound is great. That's gravy. They will crush their quota because they will be less distracted. They'll be more focused, and they will drive business outcomes.
Great summary. Love that. So where do you see ABM headed? You know, the software is changing so fast. I mean, your own software, but also the things you've described, the way intent data is becoming more available to us. Like, where do you see things going in the next few years?
Well, I mean, I already wrote the sequel on ABM, like ABM, and then ABM is B2B. So I'm already washing my hands of the fact that, hey, look, I thought ABM is the future, but the reality, the second book made it clear, but ABM is actually B2B. So 2 years, 5 years from now, ABM may not even exist. It's just better marketing. So what I think is opportunity for all of us is this idea that I shared earlier, and maybe that's what I write next, is like B2B is not boring to boring. It's better to better. And I think there is an opportunity for all B2B companies, manufacturing or anything, is that we have an opportunity to create really better experiences for our customers. And I think what most companies are doing, if you really look at it, we're creating boring experiences for our customers. And the reality is that we look at it and see it and we expect that. That's the problem. We haven't raised the bar on experiences. So I feel like it's almost a new movement that I feel or sense coming, is going from like, you know what? So what, I'm a manufacturing company, still, manufacturing equipment company, selling whatever I'm selling. It's why not create campaigns that are like you're selling Harley Davidson, right? Like make it feel so real, so genuine, so personal that you actually move people to purchase, move people emotionally to make them think that, hey, I want that. And I think that transition really hasn't happened in B2B. So my thesis is like, we're probably going to go through a renaissance period of like, all right, the boring to boring is off. Now everybody's got to be creative and create more better to better experiences.
Great answer. What's on the horizon for you, Sangram?
Well, for me, I don't know, man, I'm doing so many different things, right? The podcast, the company's doing good. I started I think I shared with you, maybe on a separate note, I started a private marketing group, and honestly,
I'm a member. I'm a recent member. Yep.
So like, to me, that's like my playground right now, Joe, like to test ideas, to see what's going on, give other people voice that may not feel comfortable being in the outside world, and give a voice and videos and stuff like that. I want to see more marketers become CMOs in the future. I think most marketers don't really know what it takes to become that. But for me, my heart right now really is focused on building another community where people are actually hungry to be better marketers. And I want to see that happen with their lives and their work. So Peak Community is where we're at it. So if anybody wants to join, they can hit you or me, because it's all invite only. So that'd be really cool.
Exactly. There's some really cool stuff happening there already. And I like your tagline is something like, it's all about getting 1% better, right? Just continuously getting 1% better at marketing. So
in life, man, I think there's a compounding effect of that. I never understood until it started to become that when you're intentional about it, that every week I got to get 1% better. I don't know what it is and how it is, but when you take an audit and say, hey, I got 1% better, it's not daunting for you to become like 1,000% better any stretch, but we all can get 1% better. But what's the beauty is that imagine if you get 1% better truly every week, that's like 52% better at the end of the year. So the compound impact of that is profoundly life-changing. So yeah, that's the goal. That's why we do the survey every Thursday religiously. Are we getting 1% better? Are you doing something? And there are the matrix that allows you to think about, like, you can make a great connection and become a 1% better, because now you just learned about someone or something, and that makes you better.
Great concept. I'm excited to get a little more actively involved in it. I just joined a few weeks ago, and it's very cool. Yeah. So, well, this has been an amazing conversation. So many great nuggets in here. I know our audience is going to get a ton of value on it. And so where's the best place for listeners to find you online, or to learn more about Terminus, to pick up a copy of ABM as B2B, all this awesome stuff you're doing? Where would you send someone?
Well, two things. One, I would love people to send me a LinkedIn message if they got something out of it. Like, what did they learn from it? If there was something that just jumped at it. If you did, I'll send you a free copy of my book. How's that?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You better take them up on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's take me up on it. Like, I don't care how many people come to me. Like, tell me one thing that really connected for you, and hopefully we'll do more. We'll do something with it, and I'll just shoot you a copy. Like, no questions asked.
Well, hey, we don't even have to send you the Amazon then if you go that route. So that's a deal. Awesome. Well, that's great. So check out Sangram, find him on LinkedIn, see what Terminus is doing. Look for his book, ABM is B2B. Peak.community is the community he's started for marketers. A lot of stuff you can take away from following Sangram. So, just wanted to say thank you for doing this. It's been an awesome episode, and thrilled you could be a part of it.
Anytime, Joe. Anytime for you.
Awesome. And as for the rest of you, I hope to catch you on the next episode of The Manufacturing Executive.